is the New York Blitz.
Cam Scadaboo trying to draw us off sides, but the Blitz is way too disciplined to fall for the hard count. Hello and welcome. I'm Kate Rooney. Tonight on the Blitz, a Jets veteran with his reason why Gang Green is lacking success. Plus, Giants interim head coach Mike Kafka on the blast from President Trump, and Malik Neighbors both getting on him for not kicking a field goal in the closing minutes of Sunday's game against Detroit. The president firing off this post on Truth Social at 5:30 a.m. Monday morning. A true Monday morning quarterback. He asked, why did the New York football Giants not kick that field goal? Who would have done such a thing? Well, as we know, the answer is Mike Kafka, and he's standing by his decision.
And this is one of the coolest things that, just for me, being in this position, you get the opportunity to make tough calls. For me, that's awesome. I love it. Everyone's going to have an opinion. That's okay. That's okay. I'm going to do the best I can for myself, for the team first, to give us an opportunity to win the game. And whatever that call, whoever it was, a player, a coach, my aunt, uncle, my dad, I heard it from everybody. So, and that's okay. They can have their opinions, and I respect that. But I'm going to do what's best for the team, try to do what's best for the team.
Joined now by Art Stapleton, who expertly covers the Giants on NorthJersey.com and is the host of All In with Art Stapleton podcast. Art, welcome. The president weighing in on Mike Kafka's second game as interim head coach. What did you think of his response?
Yeah, I thought Kafka was very presidential. You want to look back at his interim tenure right now. That was a diplomatic answer from Kafka. And look, I think Kafka, you make the play, you make the call, and you score a touchdown, and no one's second-guessing you. They're talking about how aggressive you were and what a great call. If they kick the field goal and then Detroit comes all the way down the field, scores a touchdown, kicks the extra point, he was too passive, not aggressive enough, and he let Detroit win the game. So maybe Mr. Trump needs to stick on other issues. He obviously hasn't been following the Giants this season to see their defense.
I wonder if he's been following Jackson Dart, because it seems like there's always something going on there, and we got some news. You never know about concussion protocol, but it does appear that Dart will return Monday night against the Patriots, or is on track to anyway. What do you think we can expect from him?
Yeah, I think it's fun, right, Kate? Look, these are the games you want to see with Jackson Dart. You saw how fired up he was in Detroit with Jameis Winston after Jameis, the tight end, caught the touchdown in the end zone. I think with Dart, you want to see him back on the field. You want to see if he changes his plays. Look how much has happened with this team since Jackson Dart last played. He no longer has the head coach that was pounding the table for him in the draft, right? So I think Drake May, Jackson Dart, the quarterback that the Giants would have loved to get and couldn't, versus the quarterback that they ended up having now and love. I also want to see Kafka with Jackson Dart. That's a big thing, too, going forward.
We've already established that Kafka is not afraid to make tough decisions, both in-game and on personnel, because he went for that touchdown against the Lions, like we talked about, cost him the game. Then he decided to fire defensive coordinator Shane Bowen. So I've got a two-part question for you. Why did the Giants wait to fire Bowen until now? And is Kafka actually getting an honest audition for this head coaching job?
I think they waited because Kafka didn't want to come in and seem like all of a sudden, okay, I'm the head guy, now I'm going to make all these changes. And from an offensive coordinator perspective, which is where he was before Brian Daboll's firing, I think he really had most of his focus on the offensive side of the ball. So he wanted to give the staff a chance to see if they could turn it around in his tenure. And once they had that collapse at the end of the Detroit game, I think he looked at it and said, you know what, we have to make a change. And then ultimately, can they make a move defensively and have this move pay off? Look, 5 games left. There's a lot of water under the bridge, but it should be interesting to see what they do now without Bowen being the scapegoat here.
Well, now outside linebackers coach Charlie Bullen is going to take over as defensive coordinator. So you bring up a really interesting question, because if over the next 5 games, it appears that the problem is maybe actually the players, not the coordinator, what does that say for Joe Schoen, who built this defense at a very costly salary?
It's a catch-22, Kate, because if the players start playing well, then you almost look at Shane and you say, okay, well, maybe it wasn't the coaching. It was the coaching early on that the players just didn't play to their potential until now. If the coordinator starts playing, getting these guys to play, then all of a sudden you look at it and you say, all right, maybe the Giants should have made this move earlier. I think from Shane, it's such a big picture analysis of where he's at. I don't think you can pick one or two players and say, okay, that's the reason he deserves to stay, that's the reason he deserves to go. This is a decision that needs to be made after the season and see where they're at.
Okay, we got to address some of the rumors this week about potential head coaching candidates. Bill Belichick is one, of course. Apparently, a few NFL teams have expressed interest. Also, Colts defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo, another name floating around out there. Both coaches with ties to the Giants. So thoughts on Belichick or Anarumo to the Giants?
Yeah, Belichick's not happening. Sorry, folks. Little Bill is not coming home. He put out that statement knowing that the Giants were not interested in him coming back to East Rutherford. The love is there on both sides, but I think that is in the past. As far as Anarumo, look, he's definitely near the top of the list here for candidates. I don't know if he'll get the job. He's a Staten Island guy. Lou worked on the staff under Pat Shurmur. His son is in the personnel department as a pro scout with Joe Shane. So there are certainly some ties to the organization, and he's done a pretty good job with that Colts defense after being the defensive coordinator in Cincinnati when they went to the Super Bowl a couple years back against LA. So two candidates to keep an eye on, but I think the search is still wide open, Kate.
All right, Art. Always interesting when we speak to you. Thank you so much for your time and insights, and a very happy Thanksgiving to you and your family as well. Absolutely.
Same to you, Kate. You and yours.
Still ahead, what's on the menu at Jameis Winston's Thanksgiving dinner? Well, it's a feast with Southern flair. Plus, a Jets veteran speaks out on what it will take to finally bring success to one Jets drive. An honest answer when we return. This is the New York Blitz.
You are watching the New York Blitz.
The Jets home this week for Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. Atlanta's franchise QB Michael Penix Jr. out for the season with a torn ACL. Last week's Jets loss to the Ravens guaranteed a 10th straight losing season. But Aaron Glenn believes this team is trending in the right direction.
There were some promising things in that we can build on. But there are some things also that we got to get better at. So those things that I thought we did well, I want to see us make that more of a strong point for us. And the weaknesses of some of the things we did, I want to see us get better at that.
In a short amount of time, it still has to be clear exactly what our foundation is, who our foundation is, and what is the thumbprint of this organization, the identity of this team going to be for this season and moving forward. You have to have a mentality to play the long game. And I said to them, you might have beat me yesterday, you might beat me today, hell, you might even beat me tomorrow, but you will not beat me in the end. And you have to have the power to be unstoppable.
Harrison Phillips buying in. We are joined now by Al Iannazzone, who does a great job of covering the Jets for Newsday. Al, welcome.
Hi, Kate. How are you?
Doing well. You asked Harrison Phillips the question about building a foundation and how to truly turn a franchise around. Now, as I mentioned, 10 straight losing seasons for the Jets. Can Aaron Glenn really make this franchise into a winner?
Well, it remains to be seen, but everybody in that building believes he can, that he's a confident guy. He exudes that. He really believes in his methods and what he's learned from guys like Parcells, Peyton, Dan Campbell, but we all know it comes down to players, and you got to have the right players. And this organization for 10 years plus haven't had enough players to make plays, close games, win games, things like that. So this is the start, and it could be a long process. He talked about the long game. It could be a long time before they're a winning team.
That long game started a little bit when we saw them trade away two of their best defensive players, and the Jets were competitive on the road against the Patriots and the Ravens. A good sign for Aaron Glenn. The team still trying for him?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing is you got a combination of things. You have young guys on the team who are trying to prove themselves. You have guys who are in contract years who want to get paid. And you have guys who want to be a part of this program because they believe in Aaron Glenn. So he's not going anywhere. I think we all know that. And when that's the case, these guys want to keep playing hard. Football's a different sport. You don't play hard, you can get hurt. You have to always be alert, be ready to make plays. So I think, they are playing a little better lately. But Glenn talks a lot about mental toughness and being able to deal with adversity, and they haven't been able to do that. And that's a big issue, why they lose close games. They can't close out teams, or they can't make the big plays when they need them.
Al, take a look at this graphic. The 5 first-year head coaches heading into Week 13. Now, as you can see, Ben Johnson having the most success in Chicago. He's followed by Liam Cohen in Jacksonville. Brian Schottenheimer, moderate success in Dallas. Then Kellen Moore of the Saints and Glenn struggling at 2-9. Johnson, Cohen, and Schottenheimer have franchise quarterbacks. The Jets and Saints do not. So, Al, in a bunch of 2026 mock drafts, the Jets don't take a quarterback, they take a defensive back. If the Jets don't draft a QB high in the draft, what is the plan for next year?
I don't see how they don't draft a quarterback. You know, there are a lot of mock drafts that say they are taking a quarterback. You know, I think about what it was like a couple of years ago. People had them taking Justin Fields at this point or Trevor Lawrence in 2021. They wound up with Zach Wilson, or a couple years later, everybody had them taking an offensive lineman, and they took Will McDonald. I would be very surprised if the Jets don't take a quarterback with all that draft capital they have. If there's a guy out there that they want, maybe it's Mendoza from Indiana, if he's available and they're picking, or if they want to move up, they have the capital to move up. I think they need to get a quarterback that they can develop while also having a veteran on board who can teach them.
Here's the thing, though. Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji thought Justin Fields was the answer. So does that concern you? I mean, these two are going to be the same people who are attempting to pick the next franchise quarterback.
Yeah, well, I think that was mostly Glenn. Glenn really believed that he could tap into some untapped potential in Justin Fields, and it just didn't happen. So, yeah, I understand that you have to look at it like, are they the right group? They did a good job in the draft so far. We saw this year a bunch of guys are playing, and they're playing well. They have to make the right pick here. There's no doubt about it. Muji and the scouting staff have to make sure that they get the right guy, whether it's this year, you know, if it has to be next year when it's supposed to be a better draft for quarterbacks. They just can't miss on the quarterback again. It's happened too many times for this franchise. And like I said, the long game. If they miss on a quarterback again, it's going to continue to have, you know, adverse effects, and they're going to keep being a team that doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, it's not hyperbole to say the future of the franchise literally depends on it. Okay, moving on to Sunday. Kirk Cousins and the Falcons at MetLife Stadium. And as we already said, the Jets defense played pretty well against the Ravens. So what do you expect on Sunday?
Yeah, I expect a lot of Bijan and a lot of Breece Hall. These are two guys who are explosive running backs, dual threat backs. You know, I like the way that the Falcons use Bijan. I think the Jets should use Breece Hall that way, get him more involved in the passing game, which we saw the other day. He was involved. He led them in passing and receiving yards. You know, I don't know where that's been all year. It could be that Tyrod Taylor is better at checking down than Justin Fields. You know, I think this is a chance the Jets could win this game. I mean, the Falcons are probably going to be without Drake London. So, and Cousins is not the same Cousins from a few years ago. So I think the Jets, if the defense plays well and they don't, you know, keep making those mental mistakes, physical mistakes, penalties, Breece fumbling at the 2-yard line, things like that, this is a game I think they could win.
Is winning even a good thing, though, at this time of year?
Right. You know, you balance. I know fans want the best pick possible, but, you know, Glenn is trying to build something here, a foundation, and it's hard to change the culture if you want to lose. You need to win games to change the culture and build the foundation. Like I said, I think that they have the draft capital that if they pick 4th or they pick 7th, you know, they could move up with what they have if they need to. I think it's always important to win, because what are you working for? What are you teaching your players and the rest of the organization if you're not trying to win?
All right, Al. It's always interesting. Okay, happy Thanksgiving to you. We'll see you next week.
Happy Thanksgiving.
When we come back, NFL insider Gary Myers joining us. The Hall of Fame committee member weighs in on Eli Manning's chance at induction. Plus, Jameis Winston and his Thanksgiving menu.
But Taysom Hill put me on this Uncle Ray's turkey. They ship this turkey right to your door. You pop that thing in the oven, and I'm talking about, it is succulent.
Only Jameis can make it sound oh so good. The rest of Jameis's menu when we come back.
You are watching the New York Blitz.
The Pro Football Hall of Fame announced the 26 candidates making it to the semifinal round for induction, and among those names is former Giants quarterback Eli Manning. Now, Eli missed out last year, but is once again a semifinalist. So joining us now is a longtime friend of the show, Gary Myers. Gary is a member of the Hall of Fame committee since 2010. So, Gary, welcome back.
Hi, Kate. How are you doing tonight?
Doing very well. We're so glad to have you with us. We got to talk about Eli. Once again, a semifinalist, but this year's some very strong first-time candidates. Drew Brees, Super Bowl 44 MVP. Larry Fitzgerald, second all-time in receiving yards. Frank Gore, third all-time in rushing yards. And Jason Witten, second all-time in receptions for a tight end. And we didn't even include Phillip Rivers there, who's also eligible for the first time, but not necessarily a lock like those four guys. Plus, Adam Vinatieri makes it automatically after finishing in the top 7 last year. So, Gary, what do you think of Eli's chances for induction this year?
Well, I mean, I hope that after people hear my presentation this year, they'll be certainly more convinced that Eli deserves to get into the Hall of Fame sooner rather than later than they were last year. I plan to address some of their concerns, but you know, we only were able to get 3 modern era candidates in a year ago because of some new voting rules, and it might not be any better this year. So I do think Eli will get in eventually. I'm hopeful it'll be this year, but it's really hard to predict.
If he doesn't make it in 2026, the 2027 class is just as strong. It's headlined by Rob Gronkowski, Ben Roethlisberger, and Richard Sherman. So do you think last time around was his best chance to get in the near future?
Not necessarily. You know, last year he was really the only quarterback we were considering. So, you know, in that sense, it gave him, you know, we didn't really have to compare him to anybody. Now this year with Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers, I think Brees is a certainty to be a first ballot, but I also definitely put Eli above Phillip Rivers, you know, based on his accomplishments in the postseason. And next year, when Roethlisberger, as you mentioned, becomes eligible, then that's another one he'd have to pass by. So, listen, it's not meant to be easy. And this is supposed to be the elite of the elite. And with the voting changes they made last year, where we were almost guaranteed to get 5 modern era candidates in every year, it's just changed now, and the competition has become, because of the new rules, has become, you know, much harder.
It's really interesting because Eli, one of just 6 quarterbacks to win 2 or more Super Bowl MVPs, yet he kind of becomes a lightning rod of emotion when his name is mentioned for the Hall of Fame. Is it just those new rules, or what else do you think it is?
Well, you know, Kate, last year, you know, a couple of the things that the other voters were mentioning, well, Eli was only 117 and 117. The Giants basically failed him. The running game wasn't as good. The defense wasn't as good. The only really reliable receiver he had was Odell Beckham, and he was kind of a shooting star, you know, when you consider that he didn't last very long with Eli. So, and the defense wasn't as good. You know, certainly everybody thinks, well, the defense was dominant in those 2 Super Bowl years, and that's just not true. The Giants did not have a defense in 2007 and 2011 like they had in 1986.
All right. Well, Gary, you certainly make a compelling case. Thank you so much for your insight. We really appreciate the time. Very happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
And you as well, Kate. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Chris James, and this is your Fantasy Focus. Week 13 has every NFL team in action, although 8 have already played. So I hope you're off to a good start. Now here are the rest of the guys you'll need on Sunday and Monday to help you notch one in the win column. My must starts are Jalen Waddle and Travis Etienne. Waddle gets the Saints secondary prone to giving up big plays. Plus, they'll likely focus on stopping Achane in the run game. And Etienne has at least 18 touches in his last 4 contests post-bye. Expect that volume to continue. My must-sits are Daniel Jones and Rico Dowdle. The Texans' defense is the biggest reason for you to leave Jones on the bench. Holding Josh Allen to 8 points last week wasn't a fluke. And Dowdle is playing the Rams defense that ranks top 3 amongst fantasy running back points given up. My sleepers are Theo Johnson and Michael Wilson. The Giants are playing one of the best defenses in the league, but their weakness is defending the tight end position. We could see a big game from the 6'6" Theo Johnson. And Michael Wilson is a wide receiver 3/flex for the rest of the season as long as Jacoby Brissett's the starter. I'm Chris James, and that's your Fantasy Focus.
Before we go, let's hear one more time from the Giants' resident wordsmith, Jameis Winston. Tonight, he runs down his family's Thanksgiving menu.
Man, my wife, man, she makes some kale, collard greens, she got a little, you know, her family from New Orleans, so she make a nice Creole dressing. So man, it's a beautiful thing. Taysom Hill put me on this turkey. I'm typically a ham person, but Taysom Hill put me on this Uncle Ray's turkey. They ship this turkey right to your door. You pop that thing in the oven, and I'm talking about it is succulent. That thing is juicy, it's spicy. Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
I mean, Jameis could make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich sound like a gourmet meal, but it does sound incredible. That's all the time we have for the New York Blitz. For Art Stapleton, Al Iannazzone, Gary Myers, and Chris James, I'm Kate Rooney. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your loved ones. We'll see you next week.